Let me give you a quick tutorial here how to rebuild your pond pump, your air pump. If you've got a Danner, Pond Master, Proline, Pool Care, Supreme, you can see Danner makes most of these pumps. I've been a big advocate of these pumps for a long time. This particular pump, it's an AP20. It's been running 24/7, 365 for just over 7 years. It never turns off. It's the only piece of equipment on my pond that runs all winter as long as all summer. Obviously in the wintertime, my pumps and the waterfalls, those all get shut down. But this guy runs 24/7, 365, and he has done so flawlessly. Like I said, just over 7 years. They're not the cheapest pumps, but I think their reliability and their performance far outweighs their price point. So this one finally gave up the ghost. I always keep a spare in stock. Of course, it waited till it was 3 below, and 3 below, the pond will literally, my opening will ice over in about a half hour. So nonetheless, I put the new one in, and then we're gonna rebuild this one. The rebuild kits for these, I think, run about $8 or $10. It comes with everything you need and more. This one, it's listed as a rebuild kit LP20, but you can literally rebuild the AP20, 40, 60, and 100 all out of the same kit. The 20, 40, and 60 use the same parts. The 100 uses these. So you obviously won't be using these to rebuild your 20, 40, or 60. But somewhere a bean counter said it was cheaper to have one part number and just give people extra parts. I can only imagine the influx of phone calls this provides with people going, what the hell are all these extra parts to rebuild my pump? But I digress. Yeah, they give you a reference here to build the 100 and then how to rebuild the 20, 40, and 60. Anyway, let's get to it. So I've already done half of this pump. There's 4 screws on the bottom. Just take your cover off. That's your actual pump. This side I've already rebuilt. This side we need to do. So, pry off your output pipe here. I'm going to take this little retainer off that holds these silicone plugs in the end. And we might as well pop those out while we're at it. Oh yes, this one's as filthy as the other one. 7 years of nastiness in there. You have 4 screws in the corners here. Have that removed. Don't mind the mess down here. Like usual, I've got 20 things going at once, and there's always a lack of real estate available on the bench. Alright, once you get that apart, you can pry. You see on the side here, they give you a little spot where you can pry these 2 halves of this manifold apart. Like so. So, in here, there's a one-way valve. We'll get to that once we rebuild it. That's a one-way flapper. That's no longer in one piece. It will look like that ultimately. You got a little tiny nut on here and a washer. Usually, these are finger tight, as you see. I'm literally just taking it off with my finger. A tiny little washer on here. It's usually stuck. This is no exception. There it goes. A tiny little washer, and then you can usually, oh, there's my diaphragm. Not so much a diaphragm anymore, other than just a piece of rubber with a hole in it. So you've got that little guy, a little plastic backer. You've got that flapper, which is also shot. The trick is to get all this off here. So that's what used to be the diaphragm. Let me grab a piece of paper towel so I can clean some of this up here. Just Windex. They're pretty durable. As long as you're not using like acetone or something that's going to dry the rubber out, you're fine. So what you've got is your magnetic motor here. That's the armature that works back and forth, that actually works the diaphragm. These other little plastic bits are just valving, one-way valves that allow the thing to actually move air. So here's our culprit. This will just pop out of here. Fits in a groove, fits in there pretty snugly. Iron oxide and rust dust, that's all pretty normal. Thing has been sitting outside for 7 years in the weather. I mean, it sits under my deck, but you know, it's still in the weather. Just clean this up best you can. So, new diaphragm. Only goes one way. You got a raised ridge here, you got a recessed ridge here. Round peg, round hole kind of thing. I know it sounds self-explanatory, but I'm sure somewhere someone's put one in upside down. Get that to snap all the way down in nice. Sits flush. Good to go. This collar will recess into your pump house, your motor housing. I guess you can try to put it on that way, but it's not going to work well for you. So we need one of these little guys on here. It's also part of the one-way valving. That'll slip over. You've got 4 pins that it will sit right on like that. Those holes and pins will also line up like so. Once you get everything in place, there you go. Those little pins will poke through. Got another one of those little fiber discs on there. Give you a new backer. That goes on like so. And that's the first half of your diaphragm manifold rebuilt. Over here, you got 2 one-way valves. So these little rubber thumbtack looking guys, these are just soft rubber silicone. To get these out, just rip them out. They are going to be replaced anyway. Give this a little wipe down in here. Lovely. You know, give me a second. Let me go rinse this off in the sink. These don't have to be spotless. Like I said, these pumps are incredibly resilient, but if it's apart, clean it up a little bit while you can. Actually, getting this thing wet will help you inserting those rubber plugs too in a second, as you'll see here. Alright, 2 new rubber plugs. Obviously the rubber plug sits on the flat side, not where the ribs are. It literally can't sit where the ribs are, but again, I'm sure someone's tried it at some point. Put this little center pin in there. It drops through. Now, when you grab these, pull them gently. It's just soft rubber silicone. You'll hear it snap. There it goes. That's it. Valve's in. This one comes in from this side. This one's actually a pain in the ass. Fold this over. Just grab it. You ain't gonna hurt it. In the hole. And again, just pull it through until it snaps. There you go. That's the outer side of the manifold. Put that on here. It's all got tabs and pins that line up. Just get a couple screws started. Careful when you're snugging these up, it's just plastic. They don't need to be ridiculously tight. Yeah, those are all plenty tight already. Put your output on here. Actually, let's leave that off until we try to test it. They give you new silicone end plugs. Pop those in. Sacre bleu! Look what we forgot. I blame you people. If I wasn't making a video, I'd be paying attention to what I'm actually doing here. Sorry. Teachable moment. Pay attention to what you're doing here. Oh, look at there. Shit falling apart because the hardware's missing. Alright. Washer. Tiny little easy losable castle nut. Again, I've never had one of these that didn't come off of my fingers. So when you tighten this up, just snug it up. It's like a tiny little number 4 thread on there. Doesn't need to be cranked down with a breaker bar. Alright. Now that more of the parts are in place, let's put this back together. Silicone plug-in. Put our retainer bar back on. Again, this is just threading into that plastic, so just snug it up. Alright, let's plug her in and give her a whirl here. Oh yeah, like new. We'll plug our output back on. That's it. It's a matter of dropping our cover back on. 4 screws in the bottom. And barring disaster, I expect another 7 years of flawless performance out of you. You've gotten your $10 part kit. I don't want to hear any complaining. These are great pumps. I've got a bunch of the little Chinese-made knockoffs. I've got some Whispers. I've got, you know, some other stuff. If you want a good pump, just buy one of these. Or any of those, as they're all made by Danner. As I mentioned, this rebuild kit I think was $10, give or take. Like I said, it works for pretty much all their pond pumps. One kit. I guess if you know somebody with an AP100, or if you have an AP100, you've also got a parts kit for that now. And I'm assuming that gasket goes with the AP100 because it sure as hell don't fit in this one. But yeah, there you go. Both of them plugged up here. Oh yeah. For a 20-watt pump, these things move an exceptional amount of air. This is my primary aerator in my 5,000 watt koi pond, and does a fantastic job. It sits under my deck. I don't even know it's there. I can't hear it running even with everything turned off, and it's the greatest piece of equipment I forget I ever owned because it just does its job and it's never a problem. Except for every 7 years it wants a diaphragm, but I can live with that. Alright peeps, I'm out.